Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another spoiler review for the Clone Wars season 4. Uh Anytime I go over these TV shows, I'm gonna have to do like at least, well, not at least, definitely like two reviews in one. I mean, not in one single video, but like right after this, I'm gonna go right into season 5, uh just to, you know, pick up the pace a little bit with these full Star Wars review of the canon stories, overarching kind of thing. Uh, if you hear like any like bumping or anything like kind of loud or kind of like weird upstairs neighbor, and it's like God, every time there's like new neighbors, it's always like the loudest people. It's never quiet. Anyway, anyway, season 4. I honestly gotta say, there's only two arcs out of this season that I actually had any interest in. Uh, and I know it was, I think so far this is like the only season because I know I mentioned in previous videos I did reviews for this series that hey, I will eventually come across a season that I probably won't care for. I'm not saying I didn't care for this season, but I think there's only a couple of arcs that actually held any interest in me, and the others is kind of like blase. Not saying that it's not good writing, but just like I don't really care for these characters. Kind of, I don't care to follow them like that. Like the R2D2 and C3PO little, it's kind of like side mission kind of thing, and it's like I love those characters. Don't get me wrong, but I did not give a crap, you know, about what they had to do. I mean, the most interesting thing that I've seen R2D2 that kind of held any interest to me throughout the series so far is when he had to help Anakin and Mace Windu out of that rubble and go to get some help at Coruscant kind of thing. That's like the only thing that really kind of like, okay, I was invested, but uh, it's kind of like things where it's like sometimes side characters should remain as side characters. It's like it's just, can you imagine somebody try to? I know people want to say like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome." No, I'm like, I don't. If they, Disney decided to make a R2D2 TV series, why? It's not really needed. Love the character, but it's like not everything needs, their own thing. And I know this is like a smaller scale, but I'm like I don't really care. But the first arc this season is you're on the planet of Mon Calamari, and you get to see Captain, not Admiral Akbar, Captain Akbar. It's a trap, that guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. We get to see like, just like with Tarkin in the previous season, we get to see, younger-ish uh, Captain Akbar. He's a captain, not an admiral yet. But he trying to liberate. It's very Shark Tale, and he trying to liberate the Mon Calamari, and then it's like, these factions and these two, sea folk factions, the Mon Calamari and these squid people, and like now you got like these separatists, having these shark guys. Uh, I mean, it's some brutal stuff. I gotta admit, with like, this head shark guy using these like stabby daggers that explode, and like he sticks them in like enemies, and they just blow up in like ink like substance. Like holy shit! It's like they didn't completely shy away from that. Along with his death, where like the little prince guy took one of his like exploding daggers and stabbing at him, and he turned to little chunks, and you see his floating head, and it's like holy crap. Uh, uh, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was like it's still a little bit more interesting than the R2D2 C3PO little arc or excursion or whatever. But it's like I really don't care. I really don't. It's like that was interesting, you know, to a certain level, but then we got honestly the two arcs that I thought was powerful, like really powerful, was one with the Captain Rex and the clone troopers dealing with this just straight up jackass of a Jedi that I ever seen. This General Krell. Uh and then the whole situation with like Ventress, and we get the return of Maul, and the continuation with like Savage Opress. But some people pronounce it Savage Opress. But let's go right into the Clone Troopers, because this arc was probably like my favorite, even like slightly more than like what's going on with like Maul and Opress. You got I need to get some rubber bands or something to get my hair out of my face. I need to get it redone too, but it's probably not until like in early next month maybe. I gotta save my money. I'm planning on like trying to get a space on my own at some point. Probably around like the end of the summer. So I just want to like avoid like too much crazy spending. But anyway, yeah, they own this little shadowy planet, right? The what they call it? What could they call their troops? The 50 something. The 501st Legion, and Anakin was initially leading the charge. Because Anakin and Obi-Wan was taking two different troops, and they're taking one spot of the planet, and the other take the other spot, and they kind of convene, like a two-prong attack. But like the council, sent Krell in order to relieve Anakin, because they need Anakin for something. And you see this kind of like general who obviously had ulterior motives, but the fact that he was like just, because this kind of, like I said, a real world thing. That's like, excuse me, like as soldiers on the battlefield, and there's like a hierarchy in command, and it's like wherever your commander. I mean, you don't need to be a soldier to know this kind of thing, but when you have a commander giving you orders, you follow those fucking orders. And this is like, that is how it is. It's a chain of command. But when you dealing with a commander, like what would you do when you're dealing with a commander who's like, giving you orders that clearly make no fucking sense, and clearly you're gonna sacrifice a lot of your own men to get a task done. And one of them mentions like, I think it was Rex who mentions like, Anakin Skywalker led us, on reckless, risky missions too. Another trooper says like, yeah, but he's usually in the front line, in the thick of it with us. This guy is hanging way back. And I forgot who mentions this quote. I don't know if it's Sun Tzu or something else, but it's something to the fact that, real leaders are there in the thick of it with you, leading the charge, and is a poor leader who just hangs in the back and not know, real battle. I don't know if it was Sun Tzu or Teddy Roosevelt or something like that, but it's like something to that effect. I know I heard it from, it's one of the two, because it's like something like that, where it's like that's not a real leadership. I mean, sure. I mean, like depending on the situation, it's not like, it's like there's hierarchy. Like the president doesn't necessarily need to be. I mean, you need is like a different situation. It's understandable that the president, even though he's the leader of the country, overall leader of the U.S. above any generals or admirals, but you know, it's not like Teddy Roosevelt, who, even though he was the president, got in there with people. But like when it was not something that big, yet admirals, generals, captains, all these leaders, are in the front lines with you and taking just as much shit as the rest of you, and that's like, a mark of a good leader. Like Zelensky in Ukraine right now, he's in the thick of it with his people, and it just shows him as not only as a leader but as a person. And General Krell in this case is, just obviously, ultimately we find out that he, like I mentioned in previous videos, how like little by little the Jedi are just losing their way, and their ability to see the Force clearly has started diminishing because they was resting on their laurels, and this war is starting to affect. It doesn't matter if you're a Jedi or just a clone trooper or whatever admiral or whatever. War affects everybody in different ways, and this guy just sees it where it's like, because he purposely, and this was gut wrenching. He purposely, set up to where he tells a group of troopers, like one set of group of troopers, like, hey, the enemy is going in there and he's going to be, they got their hands on clone trooper armor, and then who disguises us, so don't let that fool you. And he tells another group of soldiers the exact same thing, so they don't fighting each other. And like, it took Rex to realize, because he was sitting there like, like at first he's like, he's our leader, we do what he says, he might knows something, and then little by little he started to like, because everybody else, like, they're already like, okay, this dude's fucking nuts, and he's cause infight, not like physical, but like this argumentative infighting with the clone troopers. And like, he's already had like a prejudice against them, and he's referring to them as just clones. They're just clones. And it's like, no, we're fucking people that have agency, and like, our lives matter too. And the fact that when they find out, like, stop firing, they're clones, we're clones, and like, he had to take off like, his helmet, and then go to another person on their side and remove his helmet, and like show like, we're all clones, stop firing. And like, just the disgust they all had, it was like what they done. They fired on their own brothers, their brothers. When it comes right down to it, like I said, like they said, like, they're not just clones, they're people, but they're all brothers, and they stand with each other, and they're in the thick of it with each other. And the fact that, this guy set up to have them kill each other, essentially, and going on suicide missions, essentially. But turns out he's like driven to the dark side of the Force, because he saw that, this war is leading to something bigger. This is not, this is nothing. All this fighting with the separatists and all this other stuff, because he went on side with Dooku. He like, he just like, he turned his back against like, in the war and the Republic and even his own Jedi Order. And it's like, and then like this, it's crazy how they named each other, but there's one guy, this clone trooper, his name Dogma, and it's kind of like they did that on purpose. Obviously, he got like named Dogma, who just like follows blindly, and this shows perfectly like realistic standards. Like, this kind of reminds me of like, if you watch Hellsing Abridged on YouTube, it was like the second or third last episode, because only like at least like 8 episodes that they did, and there was like it's meant to be funny, but it's so important to like think about. It's like one character mentions it's like you don't have to uh follow orders when your leader is acting like a daft cunt, and and that should be like a thing. Was when your leader is acting fucking mental, and like if he's giving you orders that is either illegal, doesn't make is actually batshit crazy or suicidal, you shouldn't fucking be able. You should. I mean, there should be a thing in military, across the board, like a thing, like a some kind of thing implemented to where it's like if any leader goes out the confines of what they're supposed to do as a leader, that don't adhere to the structures of the law, the way it's set up for military personnel, then it's just like with police police should have something like that too. After the whole George Floyd thing and this little other fellow, ex-officers saying that, oh well, he's our leader, we have to do what it's like. That there should be a thing in a certain criteria to where it says explicitly, if your commanding officer is telling you something that acts outside of the confines of the rule of law, then you don't have to fucking follow it, and you can fucking arrest him. So, Dogma was the one who ended up shooting Krell in the back when Rex was hesitating on executing him, but it was just like, it was gut wrenching, and it's like I was kind of wanted like another episode of Rex and Fives going to the Jedi and explaining to them what went down. That's one thing I kind of wish they added. It was like I wanted to see, because Yoda, I want to mention it's happened more often, like a crazy amount. But I took notice when I was watching season 5, to where, like, when they're in that little circle thing, then do the little circle jerk thing they're doing, half the time, and Mace Windu does this a lot more so than the others, but y'all see them do it. It's like, looking like, very serious, and like they're contemplating like what they listen to. Like, yes. Ability to use the Force is clouded. And it's like, what the fuck are y'all even talking about? What the fuck is this charade? It's like, come on. It's like, me making bad calls. And it's like Yoda just does this like wise man, wise sage little, repertoire. It's like, he's just saying things, but it doesn't land well. I think that might be on purpose, but it's like, I think in the original trilogy, well, more so like, Empire Strikes Back, and then Last Jedi, I think, that was like the best version of what we get from Yoda, as far as like him speaking actually true wise words that land well. In this, it's like nothing he's saying is like really like ringing true to me. It's like, dude, like, what are you saying? You're just spouting, like just cliche. I won't say cliche, but you know what I mean, like just rhetoric that sounds wise, but it's just like, and then like, coming down on, well, that's in the next season, coming down on Obi-Wan for wanting to do the right thing just because it's not want to help people. That's like neutral, but it's like, we're not allowed because, since we're generals and for the Republic, and the Republic doesn't want to lend assistance to people who want to remain neutral. our hands are tied. Like, your hands are fucking tied. That's why you got like fucking Krell turn your back, because like you'll see another character in the next season doing the exact same thing. Maybe not exact same thing, but in the same vein. Whereas like you're blinded to the force, and you're so stagnant and dogmatic in your beliefs, and you don't see the forest through the trees, and it's like that's your problem. And it's like, I want an extra episode so I can look, so you can see the disappointment. I want to see the disappointment on their face when they come to realize your own order, little by little, is being either corrupted. They're already getting killed, but they also getting like bits and pieces are getting corrupted by the dark side, and like it's like imploding on the inside. Y'all know who's responsible, but it's like y'all gotta wake up. You just spouting, and like Anakin does this a lot too, and Obi-Wan to a certain extent, where it's like we're peacekeepers. I said this many times in the previous reviews. Oh, we're peacekeepers. No, you're not anymore. And that's what like Obi-Wan's girlfriend, that senator, was keep trying to tell him. It's like, you keep saying that, but your actions make you hypocrites, because you're obviously you're cutting down people, and that's not what peacekeepers do. You don't keep the peace. It's just like with like the Crusades. I think like many people like, or like, I don't know, it's like maybe Romans. I could be wrong about the Romans, but it's like you tout the title of peacekeepers, but you just hide behind it like a badge, just to give you carte blanche to just do all kinds of fuck shit. And that's just like, it's ripping you guys apart. And then you got Savage Opress on the lookout for his brother. You get to see Darth Maul again. He on this little junk planet thing, and he's like on this spider-like mechanical legs that Savage eventually found him, brought him back to Dathomir, where it's already been massacred, because Dooku is already just completely fed up with dealing with like Ventress and the Night Sisters, and like, so they go on a complete tear on the Night Sisters, completely massacring everybody except like, there's only, well, in Jedi Fallen Order, we know that one character from the Night Sisters, that's her who's left alive, but she is technically, like, as far as I know, is the last of her race. But prior to this is like, currently in the Clone Wars time period, there's like, of course, these people don't eventually, live too long either. But you got Ventress, you got the leader, Night Sister, you got Savage Opress and Maul. And of course, these four don't last long, obviously. But, that's not until like the end of the series altogether. But yeah, now it's like, Ventress, her sisters are completely wiped out despite them fighting back. And of course, I completely forgot, because I always recall the Jedi Fallen Order game where you got all these ghoulish, reanimated corpses, fighting you. And I was like, oh, right, yeah, they did this in Clone Wars series already. It's like, completely forgot. It's been many years since I've seen this show. But they was holding their own, but ultimately, Grievous and his troops like had the numbers. It was shocking they didn't get any assistance from like the male population on the other side of the planet. I'm not sure how far it is, but it's far enough where like you didn't see any of the I don't even know what the Night Brothers, I guess. I was gonna call it Night Brothers because I forgot what their little group is called specifically. But I'm surprised we didn't see any help from them at all. But yeah. So um now Ventress, she's just like carving out her own path now, doing her own, like, becoming like a bounty hunter. You see Jango Fett a little bit. I don't know. I mean, not Jango Fett, Boba Fett. Don't know how he escaped. Uh, his like confinement or wherever they had him in, because he's still like kind of like a minor, so they can't really hold him in like a traditional. Well, no, actually, actually handed him in the traditional prison, because it's like there's another arc where you see him a little bit as Obi-Wan was going undercover, and he's trying to figure out like who's attempting like assassination of Palpatine, and like he faked his death, upsetting Anakin and Ahsoka, and he do this face reconstruction. It's like not like face off, but it's like just like getting like data structures about the face, and then like put some like Botox or whatever in his face, and like reconstructed it, like at least morph it a bit, so he can go undercover and working with like somebody like, not specifically, it wasn't supposed to be with Cad Bane, but Cad Bane was with this other guy he was looking at. I forgot what the guy's name is. Very like not a lizard, but it's like kind of reptilian face, and they do a prison break. It's straight up prison break. I never watched that show, but I get the concept. I mean, like as far as I knew, everybody says like the first season is great, but after that point when they escape prison, then it became like, okay, what the hell is we watching now? But they make their prison break. They like do this. They meet up with Dooku, who is doing this like crazy like tournament thing. It's like call it the box, to where you go through these levels of challenges, because he wants the best of the best in order to do the mission of capturing Palpatine or assassinating him or whatever. Well, they capture him because they want to like hold him for, they need him for ransom. That's getting paid for. But thanks to Obi-Wan's quick thinking, he got even Cad Bane, as much as he could, just to make sure, because part of his Jedi code, he's not going to allow anybody to die on his watch. And he wants to also maintain his cover. So he got all these bounty hunters, at least not all of them. There was like at least 3 that died, because like 3 or 4 that died as kind of like get caught by surprise by all these little traps, and then Dooku convinced the guy that kind of set this up to get. They don't call him Obi-Wan. They call him by a different name, but I just don't really remember the guy who Obi-Wan took his appearance from. But the reptilian face guy, Dooku's like, maybe I should have him lead, since you're obviously, your little traps are not working to weed people out properly. And so, like, at the end of it all, he's trying to rig the last game just to have Obi-Wan killed. And it was like a impressive moment. I know it happened before. Everybody already is familiar with this scene, but as like you supposedly using like a sniper shot, which I didn't even realize like how often Obi-Wan used blasters, because like I just remember that scene from Revenge of the Sith, like he tosses the guns like so uncivilized, and it's like you fucking used plenty of guns before. But he's like using the Force. He was able to, track this moving dot and hit the mark, where it lands. He only has like a few shots in it, but this one shot gets supposed to like 5 bullets in the chamber of the sniper. But the reptilian face guy only put 4 in for Obi-Wan to use, and now it's like if he doesn't complete the task by hitting all 5 points, then he's gonna fall to this little burning pit. And as soon as like the last panel fell underneath his feet, Cad Bane used like a grapple to catch Obi-Wan's hand, and like kind of the one awesome, I won't say the one, but like the one that really stuck out for me is like Cad Bane just looks at that guy who's just like completely rigging the entire game, and it's like if you want to kill a man, do it face to face, or something to the effect. Like just have the balls. If you want to kill somebody, like just be a man, and just do it. None of this I mean, like Cad Bane just shows like some level of honor. Even though he's a complete piece of shit person, he showed. I want to say maybe like layers to the guy, but it's like he's not the kind of guy who would like just because he's losing, pull a stunt like that, or at least be a man, and and like if you want to kill somebody, just fucking do it. Don't try to like do this underhanded fucking tactics just because he's been outsmarting you so far. And so they try to apprehend the Chancellor. It doesn't go well, but then you get a scene where it's like kind of it's like little by little Anakin's getting pissed off with like how the Order is handling things, how Obi-Wan is handling things. It's like, y'all lied to me because you didn't think I can handle it, being in this little on this mission, because you're not telling me things, because it's like, why do you think he's going to turn into a fucking serial killer? I wouldn't say a serial killer, but it's kind of like a, just like a monster of a person down the line, because he doesn't feel trust in the order that he signed up for. And it's like, oh, and that's what I'm talking about, how like Yoda's like the way he handling things is so, I mean, I understand it has to go down like that, but it's like it could have been, I wouldn't say handled better, but it's just like to me it has to make sense. In I can say, I can see why Yoda did this. I can see why Obi-Wan did this. I want to be able to say that to argue their choice of not bringing Anakin along in this. Them not trusting how he gets emotional doesn't cut it with me. He has emotion. He's a fucking human being. It's like you cannot cut that out. But then it's like, it's like that furrowing of the brow, and it's like just like you see him just like getting like anytime something like that happens, or someone he cares about is in danger, he just goes on a fucking warpath, and it's like legit scary. And it's like you can see why it leads into like that scene in Rogue One where he just like mopping up the floor with all those rebels in that hallway, and it's like a fucking horror show. But yeah, and then like Savage Press brings Maul back to the Queen Knight's sister, and she removes, because he's like just insane, and like she kind of like I guess put his mind back together so he can remain focused. And now he's like, okay, I want like I want to kill Obi-Wan. He like he cut me in half and left me to die. And so now he's like him and Opress supposed to be like Opress view him like, oh, that's my brother. And like Maul's like, if we're working together, you know, we're Sith. It's only supposed to be two, a master and an apprentice. And you will call me master. And it's just like, wow, just the cold-bloodedness of this race is just crazy. And it's like, I think the Night Sister from Jedi Fallen Order is probably the only, I want to say the only decent one. I don't know the entire race, but like so far, she's the less ruthless one compared to the Datham Mirians that we saw so far. It was like, wow to me. That race is just so I won't say bloodthirsty, but it's just like can get cold blooded to the point of just straight up monsters. But yeah, that's season 4. Like I said, there's only been like a couple of arcs that I really enjoyed and got a kick out of watching. It's gut wrenching too. And this arc is supposed to be called Battle Lines. Yeah, and like, hey, that is the theme to this. It's like a different battle lines for like the water planet and like the Night Sisters with against Grievous, and then like and like Krell with the clone troopers, and it's like it's battle lines drawn at this point, and like people who normally would have been on one side are either like walking away from the entire fight altogether or changing sides altogether, and everything's gone blurred at this point. This is the season where things get really blurry. But yeah, that's season 4. In a few minutes, I'll be going over season 5. That one's gonna be a doozy. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Let me know in the comments what you think of season 4. If you rewatched it recently.